Words of my mouth and the meditation of each and every one of our hearts here today will please God, who is our rock and our redeemer. So membership has its privileges. So the American Express advertisement goes, membership has its privileges. But they don't too often advertise what the costs are, right? In the commercials you hear, you'll get this benefit, you'll get this benefit, you can make this much money on your rewards, you can make this many miles on your sky, in your airfare. They talk about the benefits. If you buy our product, it will get any stain out of your carpet, no matter if it's wine, or spaghetti sauce, or dog dirt, or whatever it is, it'll get it out of your carpet. Our product will. Usually then you have to read the fine print, or at the very end, after they've expressed just how important it is for you to have this product, then, only then, will they tell you the cost of the product. And sometimes not even that. You have to call to get the price. They say, call this number now. Operators are standing by. Membership has its privileges, but it also has its costs or responsibilities. In today's passage, Paul evokes some of the privileges of Roman citizenship. Today we're going to take a very brief look at what it means to be a Roman citizen, what the privileges are, what the costs are, and then we're going to see how that applies to us in a very real and tangible way today. We're going to see how the idea of citizenship in Rome, and we're going to change that a little bit, but we're going to see how it applies to us today. First of all, we want to ask, how does one become a Roman citizen? Well, you can be born a Roman citizen if your parents, if your father, I should say your father specifically, is a Roman citizen. If your dad is a Roman citizen and he's legally married to your mother, you are a Roman citizen. That's probably the easiest way for you to become a Roman citizen. But then you have to ask the question, how did your dad become a Roman citizen? Well, he could have done it one of several ways. One of the ways you can do is you can actually purchase it for a high price. You could pay a large sum. We saw that in today's passage, that the tribune had actually purchased his citizenship. If you are a freed slave, if you were a slave and your master said, be free, you were given partial citizenship. You were given partial rights. Your children, your sons, I should say, your sons would then be granted full rights. So you can see the progression there. Oftentimes how it would work is if you had partial status and you were a citizen in good standing, your status would increase, getting closer and closer to full citizenship. Military service personnel. Upon their release, the soldiers, the sailors, they would be given full status as citizens. Upon their retirement, when their military duty was up, when they had finished and completed their military service, they would be declared Roman citizens. So we saw that today the tribune had it by purchase. He paid a large sum. And actually, when he says that, he's kind of insinuating something to Paul. He's saying to Paul, you're kind of a poor Jewish guy. Do you really expect me to believe that you are able to afford Roman citizenship? No, I'm in charge of centurions. Centurions are in charge of 100 soldiers. So I'm in charge of probably 1,000 soldiers. I'm a pretty well-off guy. I'm in charge of the entire city of Jerusalem. And you think that you could afford Roman citizenship? You think that you could purchase it? Because it's very rare for a Jew to have full Roman citizenship. And Paul looks at him and he says, I was born a citizen. And so that immediately puts him a notch above the Roman citizen who had to purchase this. But what is it? I've been talking kind of around it a little bit. What is the difference between full citizenship and partial citizenship, or full rights and partial rights? We're going to look at some of the rights, and depending on who you were, if you were a conquered peoples, you would have some of these rights, depending on your city, depending on the status of your city. If your city was wealthy and brought in an important trade, you would get more rights. If you were some part of some rinky-dink little city out in the middle of nowhere that really didn't do much, you might get some rights, but probably not too many rights. You would have to earn your rights. You would have to buy them or do something for the empire that would get you your rights. Women had their own status, and depending on the age and the time and who was the current emperor, the rights that a woman had varied. She almost never had the right to vote, and she almost always had the right to own property. Let's look at some of the rights and privileges that membership, that citizenship had in Paul's time. He had the right to travel as a Roman citizen, and we see that right expressed through his missionary endeavors, right? Paul's traveling all over the Roman Empire. The only reason that he could do this was because he is a citizen. He had the right to make legal contracts. He had the right to sue people in court. He had the right to vote on issues that were brought up for the citizenship to vote on. He could not be executed as a criminal. There was no death penalty for citizens. If you got the status of citizen, you can rest assured that you can do just about anything, and the worst they can do to you is beat you and put you in prison. They cannot kill you unless you commit treason. Unless you're found guilty of treason, then they could execute you. Other than that, they cannot do that. And even then, it was forbidden to execute a Roman citizen by crucifixion because it was such a horrific and humiliating death. So Roman citizens were completely exempt from crucifixion, and they were exempt from death penalty except for treason. They were not allowed to be arrested unless they were being investigated for a crime. If they were being investigated for a crime, then they could be held, or if they were on trial. They had a right to trial. They couldn't just be accused and found guilty by a leader. So think about Paul's situation. He's been taken captive, he's been accused, and they stretch him out to beat him, and he leans over and he says, I have a question for you. Is it legal to beat and scourge a Roman citizen without having a trial? Without having tried it? Without him having been found guilty of any crime? Sometimes a question is more powerful than a statement. If Paul had started saying in a very loud voice, it's illegal for you to punish a Roman citizen, and started to get all excited, they may have just said, whoa, this guy just beat him. He's going crazy. But he just asked this question. Sometimes a question is much more powerful than a statement. When I was in basic training, my drill sergeant asked for volunteers Sunday morning to clean up an empty barracks. And, of course, nobody wants to volunteer. Sunday's your day off. All right? Sunday, at least Sunday morning, you get your day off. You're allowed to go to worship services. If you don't go, then you sit around in your barracks, and the drill sergeant kind of leave you alone. Sunday morning, you get a reprieve. So nobody wants to go with the drill sergeant on Sunday morning and clean the barracks. So nobody wants to volunteer. So I went up to the drill sergeant, and I said, Drill Sergeant, I said, I'd like to go to church when it's time to go to church, but I'll come on your detail if I can go to church. And there was a couple other guys who were with me that said the same thing. And then there was a few that he volunteered to come with us. When it came time for church, the barracks weren't cleaned. And it was getting late. We had to walk to church, so we knew how much time it would take us to get there. And I went over to the drill sergeant, and I said, Drill Sergeant, it's time for us to leave for church. And he said, I can't say exactly what he said, but he said, get back to work. So I was kind of intimidated to have a drill sergeant get up in my face and say, get back to work. So I went back to work, and I got mad. And I started getting a little hot under the collar. And I went back to the drill sergeant a couple minutes later and said, Drill Sergeant, it's time for church. And he said, what's more important, the mission or church? And, he's getting very angry. So I went back to work just a couple more minutes. And I couldn't stand it anymore. Of course, everybody else is just kind of cowering under the threat of drill sergeant's tyranny. And I went back to him one more time, and I said, Drill Sergeant, just so we're clear, are you giving me an order that's forbidding me to go to church? When you're given an unlawful order in the military, and you don't want to obey it, the proper response is to clarify the order. That means, are you giving me an illegal order? And when the drill sergeant heard me ask that question, he knew that he was. And he knew that he could get in serious trouble for forbidding anybody from the free practice of worship